اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله، يا إمام الرحمة، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين، يا علي بن أبي طالب، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد، يا قرة عين الرسول، يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله، اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي، أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي، أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين، يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي، أيها الباكر يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها القادم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الحاد النكي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. Ask for your hajat. يا سادتي وموالي، إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وأدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله، وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله، فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله، فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله، وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله، فكونوا عند الله رجائي. يا سادتي يا أولياء الله، صلى الله عليهم أجمعين، ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين. آمين رب العالمين. الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Let's make a dua for all of those people who have asked us to make dua. Those who are suffering, struggling, going through difficult time, physically, financially, spiritually. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them out of this difficulty. Let's recite this ayat karima 5 times from Surah Naml together, especially keeping in your du'as Sayyid Ahmad Musanna and others who are in need of dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Also, let's recite Surah Fatiha for all of our marhumin and marhumin of this community, those who are no longer with us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them the highest place in the Jabar of Masumin alayhi salatu wasalam. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها. صدق الله العلي العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Tuesday night program moving forward, inshallah, will only be online. Apologies to those who used to come to this program in person. As the time for namaz is coming down, it will be very difficult to continue or connect Salat al-Maghribain in Masjid along with this dua program. Therefore, we've split it. Inshallah, moving forward, the program will start sharp at 7 p.m. on Tuesday nights. Also, Thursday night program will also start at 7 p.m. That program, inshallah, starts with Salatul Isha, followed by Hadith Kisa Dua Kumail and a short lecture. You know, the tradition here on Tuesday nights, we've been doing the Tafsir of the 38 juz of Quran and the surahs in a holistic way, where we don't go in depth and the analysis of each and every single ayat. Rather, we just give an overview of the entire chapter. So alhamdulillah, thus far, beginning with the 38 juz of Quran from chapter 78 up until chapter 91, which I just recited the first few ayat for you from Surah Wash-Shamsi wa Duhaha. Of course, the surah also begins with a qasam by the sun and the forenoon splendor, by the moon when he follows it, by the day when it reveals it, and by the night when it covers it. These ayat, all 15 ayat of Surah Wash-Shamsi wa Duhaha, of course, important in a sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins it with a qasam, with an oath, as has been the case with the previous chapters as well. Surah Balad that we recited last time, which began with the word La uqsimu bihadal balad, and chapter 89, Surah Fajr, which began with Wal Fajri wa layalin ashr. This is a similar continuation of the qasam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking, or oath that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by this sun. We see the word Shams has appeared in Quran 33 times. That itself shows the importance of the sun. The reason behind taking an oath and swearing by the sun, and then right away after it by the moon, is that purification of the soul is just as important as the existence of the sun and the moon. Now, if you can imagine the science behind it, no one can deny the important role sun and the moon play in our planet. Without it, we will cease to exist. The reason behind Earth is, habitable, that people can live on it, and other planets are not inhabitable, is because the fact of the sun. And therefore, our planet's existence is vital, and it's dependent on the sun. Hence, the comparison that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making regarding the tazkiyah nafs and the purification of the soul, that without it, your body ceases to exist. Sometimes Allah swears by the sun, which is 432,690 miles in radius. Humongous creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes Allah swears by fig and olive, small enough to fit in the palm of our hands. Sun, which is 400,000 miles in radius, and an olive and fig, which is small enough to fit in our hands. It is because in front of Allah and His power and His might, there's no difference between the humongous sun and the moon or a small fruit. Kind of like similar to how you and I perceive and see a stone, a small pebble, with our own eyes, and we can see a mountain, humongous Mount Everest, with our own eyes. Same with with the same human eye of ours. And seeing a mountain for the eye does not require any additional effort than seeing this small stone. We see both of these objects with the same eyes without requiring any additional objects or whatever, or effort for that matter. Both can fit in these eyes of ours. So we look at them, of course, with the same eye. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees the sun and the olive and the fig and the other things that which He has taken an oath by from the same perspective. Here's an observation in this surah. Verse number 4 onwards, Allah uses the relative or demonstrative pronoun. So in Arabic, you have these asmaul ishara, hada, dhaka, dhalika, or you have the words which are called mawsul, my mawsula, for example. And so in Arabic, you also have these relative and the demonstrative pronouns. The word ma, which is used, وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا. By the sky and him who built it, by the earth and him who spread it, by the soul and him who fashioned it. Allah didn't say وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَنْ بَنَاهَا وَمَنْ طَحَاهَا وَمَنْ سَوَّاهَا, because the word man is a personal pronoun used for human beings. You know, when you speak to someone in Arabic, you say man anta, who are you? You don't say ma anta, what are you? So why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the creator of everything, should have just said was samae waman bana'a, that by the skies and the one who built it, because it's none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who built it. It could be that the word ma includes other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, meaning that which created the sky is the natural force or the natural forces of attraction and repulsion, you know, quwwat al-jaziba and quwwat al-dafi'a, which are placed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and under his command. So when you speak to you know, those who believe in the world coming into existence, Darwin's theory or other theories that are mentioned, that they say, well, you know, there was this reaction, and moon also, because it's not a star, sun is a star, but moon is probably, you know, body which is made up when two planets collided or two stars collided and the remains of it got together. That's how they mention it. Similar when it comes to Earth and the formation of the Earth and how other planets came into existence. When they explain that from the scientific perspective, yes, the natural forces of attraction and repulsion, which are placed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are under his command. The word Allah is using over here is wama banaha. On the other hand, the word ma could be used for Allah with ambiguity, that there is exaltedness, you know, azamat hidden in it, instead of just using the word man. So that was just an observation I thought worth sharing. And an overview of this surah: importance of purifying the soul, different levels of nafs and God's inspiration to this nafs, and the ill fate of the people of Thamud is also mentioned in it. Different names have been suggested for this surah. The most famous is Wash-Shams. It is also referred to as Suratul Naqeh or Suratul Salih or Surah Wash-Shams wa Duhaha. Surah Wash-Shams because the first word in it is Wash-Shams wa Duhaha. Suratul Naqeh because Naqeh Salih alayhi salatu wasalam was mentioned in it, and Hazrat Salih, so it's mentioned as Suratul Salih as well. There are 15 ayat, 54 words, and 241 letters in this surah. Time and the place of revelation was revealed in Mecca between the period of Prophet's first Miraj and his migration to Medina. So it was revealed right after, you know, in between these two periods. Some believe that it was revealed after Surah Dhariyat, and there are some other references to it as well. Surah Shams is 91st chapter in the current order of the surahs in Quran, but it is 26th chapter in the chronological order of revelation. What are the objectives and the lessons? There are two main objectives of this surah. Number one, to explain the importance of purification of the soul and the growth and cleansing of the soul of mankind. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath by one thing after another to build this climax, to only tell us that this nafs, woman sawaha, and the nafs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. Let me read the ayat for you. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. This nafs that we have, you know, created, we then inspired this nafs and showed it the two paths, fujur and taqwa, evil and good. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Indeed, the one who purified is the one who's successful. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And of course, the one who betrays it, fails it, and corrupts it. So that's as far as this, lessons and the objectives of the surah is concerned. That's number one. Number two is also to explain the fate of the people of Thamud and take the lesson from what they did and what was their eventual and the consequences of what they had done. The contents and the topics, as mentioned before, Surah Shams, in reality is a chapter about nurturing the soul and purifying the heart from impurities and filth. It revolves around this axis, basically. The beginning of this chapter, there are 11 oaths, one after another, each one an important topic from the creation of this universe. Shams and its brightness, the moon that follows it, and as well as the earth and the sky and other things that Allah mentioned. It serves as a means for God to prove that prosperity and nobility is attained by and only by purification of soul. This is the most, in Quran that we see how close these oaths take place. Usually, you have a couple of qasams and then something else, and then a few more qasams, and then something else. Right on the throat, you find that, 11 qasams, one after another. Towards the end of the surah, he mentions an example of the rebellious and the stubborn people who fell into external misery because of abandoning self-discipline, and God punished them with a severe punishment. That is the people of Thamud, and briefly mentions their fate. It ends the surah with it. The atmosphere in which the surah was revealed, Surah Shams, which was of course revealed in the city of Makkah, is actually a warning to the polytheists, mushrikeen that lived in Makkah, and even the Muslims in Makkah, to be careful of their actions, because it is the actions that make a person happy or miserable. What you do can provide internal happiness, external happiness, or what you do provides internal misery and external misery. Now, sometimes doing an evil, for example, God forbid, someone is in the habit of stealing. He's a certified thief. And even though he knows that it is bad, but he gets a kick out of it. But sometimes people do wrong things. It might bring them external happiness, but internally they feel miserable. So if a person does not stay away from filth, his inner being will be polluted over time. And that's where the concept of polluting the nafs, وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا, comes into play. That, over a period, it gets polluted even more and more. The more deprived he will be. And then as a witness, he mentions the story of Thamud for the crime of denying their prophet, Hazrat Salih alayhi wasalam, that they killed the she-camel, which they actually requested him to produce as a miracle and a sign of his nubuwwat. It was there to provide for them, the people of Thamud. Of course, the people of Thamud suffered the torment of desperation and extinction. They were destroyed, completely annihilated. By narrating this story, Allah scolds the people of Makkah. Look at what happened to them. Similar will be the fate of yours if you do this, if you follow the same path. Some of the features and the specialties and the reward of reciting the surah, Ubay ibn Ka'ab narrates from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who said, whoever recites this surah is like the one who has given sadaqah, charity, of all the things upon which sun and the moon shine. So when sun shines on this earth and beyond this earth, wherever the sun is shining, every single thing upon which the sun shines, it is as if you've given that as a sadaqah in the way of Allah. Muawiyah ibn Ammar narrates from sixth Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi wasalam, who said, the one who recites Surah Shams often, regularly, Surah Layl, and Surah al-Duha, and Surah al-Inshara. These four surahs Imam mentioned. During the day and night, doesn't matter whether it's in Salat or outside of Salat, there isn't an object that won't bear witness in his favor. Even his hair, skin, the flesh, the blood, the veins, the bones, everything that grows in the land will bear witness in your favor. Allah will say, I accept you bearing witness for this man, this person. Take him to the paradise and let him choose whichever one he wants. That's just the thawab of recitation, let alone when you acted upon what the surah is saying. Fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad Baqir, and sixth Imam, Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, والسلام, under the tafsir of this ayah, or actually ayah number 9, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, they say قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ أَطَاعَ, meaning the one who obeyed the prophets, obeyed the imams, is indeed someone who's successful. Very quickly, the word khaba comes from the root khayaba, the one who fails to reach his objective. The word dassa means to conceal something underground, as it is used in burying the atrocity that the mushrikeen of Makkah used to commit by burying their daughters alive in the time of Jahiliyyah. Ayat of Quran says, يَدُسُّهُ فِي التُّرَابِ. And the word damdama means widespread wrath and punishment, which breaks into pieces the object that it is coming upon. Toward the end, there are many riwayat in the sources of Shia and Ahl Sunnah. Min Jumla, from Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Tabari, Qurtubi, that mention Ashqal Awwaleen wa Ashqal Akhirin, the most wretched individual from the beginning and the most wretched of the Akhirin. He said the one who was Ashqal Awwaleen, the most wretched, is the one Aqiru Naqa, the one who killed Naqa, the she-camel of Hazrat Saleh. Wa Ashqal Akhirin, Rasulullah said, Qatilu Ali ibn Abi Talib, the one who took the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to ponder over the ayat of Quran, make Quran to be part of our daily lives. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our awaited Imam, make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers of Imam, wa akhu da'wana, and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum Rasulullah, assalamu alaikum Nabi Allah, assalamu alaikum Ya Habib Allah, assalamu alaikum Ya Khairat Allah, assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alaikum Abu Abdullah, assalamu alaikum Ibn Rasulullah, assalamu alaikum wa ala jaddika wa abik wa ala ummika wa akhik wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس وأنيس النفوس، أيها المدفون بأرض توصل ابن مسرد ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك صاحب الأسر والزمان، السلام عليك إمام الإنس والجان، السلام عليك شريك القرآن، أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أعوانك وأنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.